All right, let's start. Number one. This is going to be, I guess, I kind of wanted to try out this format, so just speaking about different topics. First one up, I think, is I've talked about this a lot, not talked about it, but wrote about it a lot and quite a few times actually, and it's humans being interpreters of the static. By that, I read it in a book. It was a book about poker. I forgot its title again. But, anyways, in the story, the author goes on to talk about this ancient old story, and I think it's rooted in Buddhism. And, like with everything else, old questions have old answers. The first thing, the story goes something like this. Hema Upchideon and Kolu, he has a son. Wait, that was not the story, but whatever. Uh, so there's this dude, Upchi Villagina, bro, fuck, but whatever. Upchi Villagina Deon, and he has a herd of horses. One day he suddenly loses his horses. The next day, the neighbor comes by around his house and gives their condolences, and the dude goes like, ah, it's whatever. And then the next day or the next week after, the horses come back, but they come back with more horses. And so the neighbor comes back to congratulate the dude, like, oh, congrats, you have more horses now. The dude's again like, it's chill, whatever. The next week after that, his son is riding the horse and he falls and breaks his leg. So the next day, the neighbor comes again to give their condolences and to visit his son. But the dude is like, whatever, shit happens. And the week after that, a war starts in that nation, and all the young men are drafted. But Abdi Budi is not drafted because he has a broken leg. And the neighbors come again the next day to give their congratulations. Or to be like, oh, you're very fortunate, but the dude is like, ah, it's whatever. And I guess the moral of this story is like, things come and go. What you think is really good right now can turn out to be really bad in the future, or what you think is really bad right now could be something that's good in the future. And as humans, we can only interpret the static of the right now because we'll never be able to see into the future, what the future holds, and whether whatever's happening in the present moment right now is actually good or bad in the long term. All of the alternate paths that we have, all of the alternate lives that we have, we'll never know. I think there's a really good picture which depicts it on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter, and it's something of like all the life paths available to you right now, and then it also shows like all the life paths that are close to you, and it's just a huge number of branches that have closed out, but it's also a huge number of branches that are now open. And I think connecting those two dots together, I guess it's more like, well, it's just that life has a huge myriad of possibilities, and it's always best to stay grounded, whether that's when you're winning or when you think you're winning, technically, or whether you think you're losing right now. You'll never know until, I guess, your deathbed when everything's played out. But even then, will you ever know, like, all of the alternate lives that you could have lived and all of the alternate paths that you could have taken? I've thought about that quite a lot, and it's applied to me so much as well. Like, prime example is when I was in high school and applying to colleges. That shit is stressful as fuck, by the way. And I really wanted to get into Connecticut College, man. I ED'd here. I was like, fuck, just God, please, please, just let me get into this, and I'll be like the most religious person ever. Like, and I actually got in. The universe bended its will to allow me to go to Connecticut College, But at that point of time, I'd never thought that the first year at my college would be one of the not even one of the hardest time in my life, where I was really depressed, on the verge of depression, and I wasn't a pleasant human in general. I struggled quite a lot, and I was very negative, and yeah, it wasn't the best experience. But I guess, do I know if that's good or bad? I'm not too sure actually, because after that, life played out really, really nicely. To be honest, COVID came about. I took 2 gap years. I met some of my closest friends right now, some really smart people, had a cute doobie boom, and she was really nice. And I came back here, and now I'm in the same spot, kinda, where I'm applying to a lot of jobs, or like I've applied to a lot of jobs, and I think like, oh fuck, if I could get this, like my life would be set. But is that really true though? Like, do you know what's in store for you? You never do. And maybe it's just being happy with however life plays out. Another not as much of a serious example is like when I was in middle school, I always wanted really straight hair like my friends, because most of the time Asian hair is to straight on minna. But I always had curly hair. Curly hair se member ram joda, it would like curl and then me dongulima, and at that point of time I really wanted straight hair, man. I was like, fuck, why is my hair not smooth enough, like straight enough? But now as I've grown older, just a bit, I actually like it more curly, and that it just styles on its own when it gets longer, and I don't have to perm it. Now that the trend has made it so that hair like this is in vogue, I'm like, oh cool. But that's the thing as well though, like I guess you have to be grounded in general, man. Like, yeah, things never play out as they are or should be, but you just make do with whatever life gives you. And yeah, I guess that's about it, man, for the first one. Boy.